I'm low key like the mo jig. I'm low key like the mo jig.
I like it. I like it.
Let's see if we can find some value on another big favorite here in our main event. It is not the most glamorous main event in the world, but if you have not gotten to watch Grant Dawson fight yet, probably for the best. He's not always the most entertaining guy. A lot of back control.
He looked damn good in his last fight, though.
He absolutely did against a guy in Damir Ismagulov who was the favorite in that fight, who is a guy that was unbeaten for I think like 16 straight fights before that. I actually think it was almost even more impressive that he completely ragdolled Mark Madsen, who's a silver medalist,
100%.
Olympic wrestling. Just totally, he had the guys back the entire fight and submitted him in the third round, which is good to see that finishing upside. Like Dawson trains an American Top Team, and you think of some of the lightweights in that gym, Mateusz Gamrot. I'm gonna miss so many names like the ATT. Can you help me on this? I totally. I'm spacing the entire room, but it's a lot of wrestling and grappling guys. Tiago Moises is in that room as well. So he's got a lot of elite training partners, and he's a good fighter. He's a really good fighter and potentially a championship contender. I think he's filled out well at lightweight. Taking on a guy that I've always loved, Bobby King Green. I bet on him so many times. I cashed on him as a dog so many times. I strayed away from him with Tony Ferguson, which there was an eye poke again in that fight that kind of changed things.
How sick was that round 3 submission? So many people probably lost so much money because of that.
It was a like submission as well. And that's kind of the thing about Bobby. He's a little bit underrated everywhere. This is a guy that took a third round off of Fiziev in the striking department. Okay. He beat Lando Venata pillar to post as a fight that you recall. It took the Islam Makhachev fight on 1 week's notice. He wasn't going to win it anyway, but like that was for a paycheck.
By the way,
I don't think it matters.
Did I tell you what happened to me on that fight?
Yeah, you had sub, right? And then everyone got
I posted a TikTok about how long ago was this fight? A couple of years?
Yeah.
It was a couple of years ago. It got 900,000 views on TikTok. I bet Islam by submission. He takes him down to the ground, dominating him. Submission threats after submission threats. Bobby Green does not like to get submitted.
Yep.
Like he would rather get TKO'd. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm gonna love the value when it drops on this Grant Dawson KO prop or TKO. I really think it's gonna hit in this. But let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I think his inside the distance is gonna be around -130, -140.
Right.
How can you not hammer that?
Yeah, because I think in this, in some ways, Dawson's patience will reward that number, and that he was extremely patient against Ismagulov. He didn't really force things. Damir Ismagulov's a really high-level grappler, and there's some guys in UFC that are not subbable. Like their submission defense is just too good. I think
good, yeah.
Danny Ige is a perfect example. How many bad positions did Bryce Mitchell have Danny Ige in? The dude understands what he's doing. He's not going to get caught with anything that Bryce Mitchell's trying to set up. I think Bobby Green's been around the block so long that he's a little bit that way. Maybe like a power rear naked choke, but I'm so with you on Dawson inside the distance where it's great value here when I think this is actually a step back in competition for Grant. Would you agree?
100%. It's not even close. Here's the way I look at this fight. Bobby Green does have good takedown defense, but based on what I saw with Grant Dawson against Madsen and Damir, I think when Dawson does get this fight to the ground, I think he's going to have his absolute way with him. Yep. I think it's just going to be good position. I think he's going to eventually get like mount and he's just going to tee off on him. I love Grant Dawson inside the distance here. I'm a Bobby Green guy as well, but
me too.
I mean, look, you can take Bobby. The problem with Bobby Green in this fight is he really going to starch Grant Dawson? Like, how does he win? Is he going to just stuff takedowns for 5 rounds?
Right.
Like, I just think that this is an absolute hammer spot on Grant Dawson inside the distance with a sprinkle on maybe like around, I think, 2 to 4 KO props here is what I would look at, or maybe around 2-3.
I like that split. I'm just a little worried that Bobby gets overwhelmed early, like maybe 1-2 is what you go with, because we saw how quickly things spiraled with the Islam fight, and I think Dawson could be that level of ground fighter. And
but do you think he's a little more prepared though for this? Like that was short notice, and let me pull up Bobby Green's typology.
Yeah, I mean Bobby Green, by the way, 74% takedown defense. He's been very good defending takedowns historically. You kind of expect that with how low he keeps his hands when he strikes. But like. The problem for me is that earlier this year, you and I think may have been on opposite sides. Bobby Green's taken on Jared Gordon, right? Jared Gordon is a former featherweight. He's not really a top shelf contender. Gordon was having moments on the feet in that fight. I almost wonder if we see Grant Dawson's hands a little bit, which a lot of people would say that was ill-advised, and I agree. But Dawson is probably getting a lot of striking experience in that gym at ATT with Gamrot, with Moises, with a lot. And to your point, because it sounds like you're leaning knockout, that is the other side of the coin that you get as a value proposition if you take Dawson by knockout. Is he's look at the dude, he's built. He's got the potential to put Green out with one punch. When we saw Bobby's chin against Dover, if Drew Dover and Dawson
did it,
yeah, if Drew Dover and Dawson hit one of those punching machines, I would bet that their scores are pretty similar. Dawson is a very strong, excellent athlete, and I don't, like you said, you really think Bobby's just going to defend takedowns until Dawson is totally gassed and just doesn't have his way? The guy just broke through Demiris Magulov's 90% takedown defense. Bobby Green at 74 at his competition level.
Nothing, man.
How many times did Clay Guida take down Bobby Green? I'm going to look it up right now because it was an embarrassing amount.
Yeah. I mean, Poirier knocked him out in round 1. That was back in 2016.
Clay Guida landed 3 takedowns on Bobby Green. You don't think Grant Dawson's going to land 3? Tiago Moises landed 2. I think Dawson's better.
I think Bobby Green's best chance to win is a round 1 knockout.
Right, and he's never been the
really do.
I've got his knockdown rate here. It is incredibly small for a guy with his sample, with how many wins he's actually scored by knockout. Green, let's see here. I'm looking up his knockdown. In fact, actually, this might be a good transition to my model here because that's one of the factors that I have in here. Bobby Green's knockdown rate, just 0.23%. How about this? Grant Dawson's at 0.27, so he's got a higher knockdown rate, more power than Bobby. So now where are we sitting?
Who would have thought?
Yeah. This fight, I've got, predictably so, because of Dawson Green's takedown defense, I've got Dawson at 54% to win, which doesn't feel very high.
Wow.
But I don't agree with my model's assessment that Dawson will be inefficient with his takedowns because it's just looking at their historical efficiency.
I get it. Yep.
Yeah, Dawson's better now than earlier in his career. And Bobby at 37, 36, 37, probably a little bit worse. So I think this line is justified, and I'm totally on the same page as you, where Green's submission defense, I think we're getting extraordinary value on a knockout prop here.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see what number ballpark here. What's your prediction on just a knockout in the fight for Dawson?
I would say Dawson TKO. Do I want to go first round? Maybe second round.
Yeah.
Because I think
I gotta think Bobby can survive for one in this, you know.
There's also a component where Bobby is going to know how outmatched he is, I think.
Right, and he's gonna be smart for at least the first few minutes, and then I have a feeling if I took the rounds like 2 through 4, I'm gonna really sweat that last 60 to 120 seconds of the first round.
Yeah. Maybe it's for the best, because what Dawson's first main event, I think, Maddie, you're kind of turning me to 2 through 4 as the build, because Dawson's first main event was a gas bag against Ricky Glenn. Maybe he takes it easy. Maybe he doesn't go straight for it, or he takes his time in round 1, right? If he gets the back, he doesn't overly exert himself.
Yeah. You ready for this?
Statement time. Yeah.
Dawson by KO plus 450.
Oh my goodness. And this isn't that the exact same number we talked about with Raul Rosas when we were on here? It was like plus 450 by knockout.
In round.
Oh, that was round 1. That was round 1. So it was a little different because he was about even.
The Bo Nickel fight was. What was the Bo Nickel KO prop?
It's the very similar. Like, Maddie and I have gone to this
one of those two.
Bunch.
Yeah.
And Maddie was the one who turned me on to this. Wasn't it because of the Islam Makhachev Bobby Green fight where you're like, dude, I should have taken the opposite result because it was way larger.
It happens all the time. And you look at all these damn Contender Series fights the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Every single time a round 1 KO is minus 150 and the sub is plus 700. The sub ends up hitting.
Yeah.
I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Take submission guys by knockout. Take knockout guys by decision. Like, you'll find the most value on crazy shit like that. That's how you find value. I love Grant Dawson by knockout in this fight. And I love what you said about it. It's live on the feet and it's live on the ground and pound. You can get it in 2 different ways here. and it's the best number on Grant Dawson, I believe.
What's his decision? What's his decision?
Decision plus 230.
Yeah, I just
The
don't.
submission plus 130. The knockout is literally the biggest number, and I think it's more likely than the decision prop.
I feel like Grant is probably in trouble if this fight is going into the 4th and the 5th round, because he will be the one exerting energy early. Bobby
100%.
will be defending. He'll be the one grappling. We saw it against Ricky Glenn. So if you told me right now, you said, Austin, this fight will start the 4th round, I'm foretelling this to you from the future. It will start the 4th round. I'd lean Bobby.
I'm going 1, 2, 3. You've convinced me.
Okay. We'll go
1, 2, 3 KO. Hold on, I gotta tell you the numbers.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3 KO.
And I don't
Round
think this
one.
is the wrong play, even if Dawson finds a submission. You're just playing the averages here. We might lose this one, but this is how
here's
we
the thing.
attack
I'm gonna
situations.
take. I'm gonna have a full unit and a half on Dawson inside the distance.
Great.
And then I'll have quarter unit props on rounds 1, 2, 3. Rounds 1, 2, 3 KO. Round 1 KO about plus 500. Round 2 700. Round 3 1100.
Okay. Interesting breakdown. FanDuel might also
That shows it's kind of skewed, right? Because for the round 1 to be 700 and the fight to be 450, 500, that's not,
Hey, FanDuel's got numbers up on this. You ready for this, Maddie? I'm about to make your day. You ready for this?
I'm about to go on the app right now.
Grant Dawson KO 16-1 round 1, 21-1 round 2, 30-1 round 3. You better bet those now, buddy.
My God.
You better bet those now, buddy.
No way.
Now, just so for the behind the scenes, I work for FanDuel, so I can't bet on FanDuel. I wish I could because they've got the best prices on props in UFC. But those are insane numbers. Those numbers should not exist in the way that they do. They are available right now. We might move them as a chat if you want to tail.
Oh my God. I'm screenshotting these right now.
Insane. Crazy value when, let's see. Honestly, they're offering plus 550, plus 750, and plus 1100 on the submission, which means if I look at, let's see, Dawson in round 1, 2, or 3 on FanDuel is plus 120, which I think is extraordinary value. He's round 4, 5 or decision is plus 145. I don't see it. You could even hedge it with Bobby Green round 4, 5 decision, so at plus 700. So I think these numbers here. The Dawson inside the distance on FanDuel, it's got to be plus, what is it? Minus 135. Yeah, plus 140 by knockout, plus 500, or plus 140 by submission, plus 500 by knockout. Yeah, so plus 500 for knockout in general. I lean with you. I think I'd rather break that into rounds at those numbers.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree with you that if it goes late, that this could be Bobby Green's fight, round 4 or 5. Maybe even late round 3.
I just worry that we don't know what Tony Ferguson is as a measuring stick at this point. We'll kind of have a better idea when Patty fights him, because we know Patty's a very average lightweight in UFC, given how he fought Jared Gordon, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what Tony has left in the tank, and Bobby's hand speed was always kind of a nightmare matchup. I would feel differently about this fight if the Islam fight didn't exist, but Islam did that so easily. And just as a wrestler and a grappler, I think Dawson is at least within 10% of Islam. He's not as good as Islam, but he's very, very good.
He's close based on what we saw in his last fight, for sure.
Agreed. Agreed. Because so
we're on the same page,
dude.
100%. I'm excited for this fight.
We got Morono. We're looking at Piper by submission, and we got Grant Dawson at these insane numbers.
I need a historic card, man. I had some cards in the past where 15 unit profit, 17 unit profit. I miss those days. I feel like this is the one where I get back. I really do.
If you laugh at me, that's fine. But I'm telling you that I feel equally about hammering over significant strikes for both Kovalevich and Belbita. If you play daily fantasy formats, that is my fight of the night. Hammer the significant strikes. I'm telling you, those ladies are both going over 100. Neither one's putting the other out. They're just going to trade in a phone booth for 15 minutes.
100%.
If they don't, it's because Belbita subbed Kovalevich, so maybe hedge with the money line.